After I finally paid off my condo, my sister-in-law Naomi came over one day and dropped a bombshell. She stood in front of me, arms crossed, and declared, "It's a family asset now. We're moving in. You need to find somewhere else." I simply looked at her, and with a slight smile, whispered something under my breath as I turned to walk away. Seconds later, I heard her scream, "No way! This isn't fair." I couldn't help but chuckle. Fairness wasn't something you were concerned with before, was it? I replied. I had never laughed like that before, not because it was funny, but because I couldn't believe the absurdity of what I was hearing. Naomi truly believed she had a right to my home. Let me give you some context. I was raised in a working-class family in Chicago. Nothing was handed to us. My parents worked tirelessly, but money was always tight. If I wanted something, I had to work for it, and that's exactly what I did. I worked throughout high school, college, and well into my 20s, saving every penny I could. I watched my friends go on vacations, buy new cars, and eat out at fancy restaurants while I lived on ramen and juggled side jobs. But it was all for one goal: to buy my own home. After years of hard work, I finally achieved that dream. I bought a small 2-bedroom condo in a nice neighborhood. It wasn't extravagant, but it was mine. I spent years paying off my mortgage, prioritizing my home over frivolous spending. And finally, after all that sacrifice, I made the last payment. My condo was fully paid for, no debt, no mortgage, just me and my peace of mind. That was until Naomi decided she had a claim to it. Naomi had been married to my younger brother, Adam, for 5 years. From the start, she acted like she was somehow better than the rest of us. She came from a comfortable family, and she never hesitated to remind everyone of it. She'd make comments about how we dressed, the restaurants we chose, and the cheap gifts we exchanged for Christmas. But the thing she criticized the most was my condo. "It's so small," she said when she first visited. "I could never live here." Fast forward a few years, and suddenly, she wanted to live there. I should have sensed something was off the moment she came to my door alone. She rarely visited me without Adam, and even then, it was usually just for obligatory family gatherings. But that day, she walked in like she owned the place, acting like she was inspecting a property. She turned to me, crossed her arms, and said, "We've made a decision." I had no idea what she meant, but something in her tone made me uneasy. "This condo," she said slowly, "is a family asset now." I stared at her, confused. "What?" I asked. "A family asset." She repeated herself as if that would make it clearer. "You've had it for years, and now that it's paid off, it belongs to the family." I blinked in disbelief. "No, it belongs to me. I bought it. I paid for it." She waved her hand dismissively. "Sure, but you don't need all this space. Adam and I have a child now. It makes more sense for us to live here." I laughed. It wasn't intentional, but I couldn't help it. "What's so funny?" she asked, her face scrunching in confusion. I said, still chuckling. "You actually think you can just take my home?" "It's not about taking anything," she said, rolling her eyes. "It's about fairness. We have a family now, and we need the space. You can find somewhere else to live." I looked at her, trying to make sense of what was happening, but her face was dead serious. "You're insane," I said. "Finally," she huffed. "Adam and I talked to Mom and Dad, and they agree this is what's best for the family." That was it. I wasn't surprised my parents were backing her up. They had always favored Adam, the golden child, while I was always the responsible one. If Adam broke something, it was my fault. If he failed a test, I was expected to help him study. And if I ever complained about being overlooked, I was the selfish one. So, it didn't shock me that my parents were supporting Naomi's ridiculous demand. But I wasn't going to just sit back and accept it. I stepped closer to Naomi and, in a low voice, whispered something that immediately drained all color from her face. She recoiled, as though I'd physically struck her. Then, seconds later, she started screaming, "No way! This isn't fair!" And that was when I laughed again. Fairness wasn't your concern before, was it? Naomi had just learned the hard way that life doesn't always work out the way you want it to. She thought she could just take what I had worked so hard for, but she was about to discover how unfair the world could be when you try to claim someone else's life and effort as your own. Naomi had no idea who she was up against. She stood there, her face flushed, fists clenched, breathing heavily, clearly ready to pounce. She thought she had me trapped, that I would back down like I always had before, like my parents had trained me to. But what she didn't know was that I had worked tirelessly for this condo, and I wasn't about to let her take it from me. "You can't do this," she spat. I just smiled, knowing I had already won. Her reaction was a scream, a full-on, toddler-style tantrum that didn't even faze me. I didn't flinch. The next morning, my phone started buzzing non-stop. First, it was my mom. "How could you be so selfish?" she snapped the moment I picked up. "Your brother needs this space more than you. He has a child. You're alone." I rubbed my temple, trying to stop the headache already forming. "Mom, it's my condo. I bought it. I paid for it. Adam has no right to it." But she wouldn't hear it. "It's a family home," she insisted. "Family takes care of each other." Funny how that sentiment only applied when it was about me giving something up, I thought. "What was that?" she asked. "Nothing," I muttered. "You don't even need that much space," she went on. "You could find a nice little apartment somewhere." By this point, I was seething. "I already have a home. This one," I said firmly. She gasped as if I had just committed some unthinkable crime. Then my dad called with the same speech, followed by my aunt, uncle, and even cousins I hadn't heard from in years. Everyone had an opinion on what I should do with my place, and they were all on Naomi's side. Later that evening, just as I was trying to unwind, there was a knock on my door. I didn't have to guess who it was. Adam. He stood there, hands in his pockets, looking uncomfortable, unlike Naomi who always went on the attack. He asked if we could talk. I crossed my arms, not in the mood. "Talk," I said. He sighed. "Look, I know Naomi can be a little strong-willed." I raised an eyebrow. "That's one way to put it. But this isn't just about her," he continued. "It's about our family. Mom and Dad think this is what's best. I think it's what's best." "For who?" I asked, unimpressed. "For all of us," he said, like it was the most obvious thing in the world. "You're just one person. We're a family. We need the space." I couldn't believe what I was hearing. "You live in a 3-bedroom house, Adam. The rent is expensive, so not my problem." His face flushed. "You don't even use the 2nd bedroom, he added weakly. I stared at him, waiting for him to hear himself. He didn't respond. Then I dropped the bomb. "I looked up your lease," I said, watching his face go white. "You can't break it early without paying 3 months rent up front." He went silent, and that's when it hit me. This wasn't just about Naomi wanting my condo. They couldn't afford their own place anymore. A week later, a friend who worked at a local real estate office called me. "You're not going to believe this," she said. "Adam and Naomi applied for a mortgage last year, but they got denied." I was shocked. "Why?" I asked. She hesitated. "Bad credit. High debt." I sat up straight. "How high?" She lowered her voice. "Really high." Everything clicked. Naomi didn't just want my condo, she needed it. They were drowning in debt, trapped in a lease they couldn't afford. Rather than own up to their financial mess, they decided to take my home instead. And my parents had no clue. I didn't confront them right away. I bided my time. A few days later, my mom called again. "We're having a family dinner this weekend. You should come." I almost said no. But I knew they were setting me up to guilt-trip me. They wanted me there to gang up on me until I gave in. But I had other plans. "Oh, I'll be there," I said, my tone calm. And when I walked into that dinner, I was prepared for war. I knew exactly what was going to happen. They'd sit me down, treat me like a selfish child, and pressure me into giving in. But what they didn't know was that I wasn't the same person they could steamroll anymore. I knew the truth now. Adam and Naomi weren't just greedy, they were desperate. As soon as I stepped inside my parents' house, the tension hit me. My mom greeted me with fake warmth, and my dad barely acknowledged me. Adam and Naomi were already at the dining table, whispering. Naomi looked up, smirking like she had already won. The table was set, food was served, but no one had touched a thing. They were waiting for me. I sat down, pretending I didn't know what was coming. And right on cue, My mom launched into her well-rehearsed speech. Honey, she began, reaching for my hand. We just want to talk. I didn't pull away, but I didn't say anything either. She held my hand gently, squeezing it as if trying to offer comfort for a decision she was about to make. We've thought this through, and we all agree, it's time to do what's best for the family, she said, her voice soft and almost caring. I stayed quiet, waiting for her to continue. We love you, she added, putting on her most concerned expression. But it's selfish to keep the condo to yourself when Adam and Naomi need it more. Naomi nodded along as if this were the most reasonable thing in the world. I couldn't hold back any longer. So, you want me to just give up my home? I asked, staring at her in disbelief. My dad cleared his throat, trying to sound calm. Not give up. Just let them stay there for free. Right, I said with a bitter laugh. And where am I supposed to go? My mom waved her hand dismissively, as if my living situation wasn't important. You can get a nice little apartment. You don't need all that space. There it was again, that word. Need. As if I hadn't worked hard for every inch of that condo. As if it wasn't mine. I leaned back, crossing my arms. And why can't they just find a place they can afford? The room fell into an uncomfortable silence. That's when I saw it. The flicker of panic on Adam's face, the tightness in Naomi's expression. They hadn't expected me to push back. And that's when I knew. I wasn't going to let them win. I turned to Adam, narrowing my eyes. You tried buying a house last year, didn't you? His face went pale. What? He stammered, clearly caught off guard. You applied for a mortgage but got denied. I continued, feeling my anger rise. Because of your debt. Naomi jumped in, her voice sharp. That's none of your business. I ignored her and kept my focus on Adam. Thousands of dollars in debt. Isn't that why you suddenly want my condo? Adam looked like he wanted to disappear into the floor. Naomi's face twisted in fury, and my mom gasped. That's not true, she exclaimed. I shrugged. It is. And now you want my place because you can't afford yours. Naomi slammed her hand on the table. You have no right to dig into our finances. I raised an eyebrow. And you have no right to take my home. Her mouth opened, but no words came out. Her rage was obvious. My mom turned to Adam, eyes wide. Is this true? Adam sighed, rubbing his temples but didn't answer. And that was the moment I saw it. The first crack in my mother's blind loyalty to him. She could justify pushing me aside when it was about fairness. But when it came to death and bad financial decisions, that was different. She asked, her voice trembling. You lied to us? Adam sighed again, clearly deflecting. It's not like that. Oh really? I said, looking him dead in the eyes. Because it seems exactly like that. I turned to my dad. So let me ask you this. If I hadn't found out the truth, would you have still taken their side? He didn't answer. I let out a bitter laugh. Unbelievable. I stood up, ready to walk out. I hope this was worth it, I said, locking eyes with Naomi. Because you just lost any chance of ever getting anything from me. Her glare could have burned a hole in the floor, but I didn't care. You'll regret this, she hissed. I smirked. Try me. Then I walked out. I thought that would be the end of it. That they would be too embarrassed to try anything else. But I was wrong. 2 weeks later, I came home to find someone had tried to break into my condo. The lock was damaged, the door scratched up. I knew exactly who was behind it, but I wasn't just going to change the locks and move on. No, if they wanted to play dirty, I'd show them just how nasty I could get. Instead of fixing the lock right away, I played it smart. I called a locksmith and had them install a hidden camera in the peephole. It looked like a regular door viewer, but it recorded everything. Then I upgraded my security system. New locks, motion sensors, and a camera aimed directly at the hallway. I knew Naomi wouldn't stop, and I was right. 3 nights later, at exactly 2:37 a.m., I got a notification on my phone. Motion detected. I opened the app and watched a live feed of Naomi standing at my door, holding a screwdriver, trying to pry open the lock. I recorded everything, then called the police. It took them 7 minutes to get there, and when they did, Naomi was still hunched over my door, completely unaware she was about to have the worst night of her life. When the cops yelled, "Hands where we can see them," she screamed in shock. I opened the door just in time to see her face down on the floor, getting cuffed. It was beautiful. Naomi tried to spin some ridiculous story about forgetting her keys, but the police weren't buying it, not when the footage clearly showed her breaking in. And Adam? Oh, he was screwed too. Turns out Naomi was on probation for a small fraud incident from years ago that she had kept quiet. But now this arrest violated her probation, and she was facing serious charges. My parents begged me to drop the charges, but I laughed in their faces. After everything they'd put me through, I said, "Not a chance." They tried to guilt-trip me, telling me I was ruining Naomi's life, but I'd heard enough of their nonsense. I turned to Adam. "Did you know she was going to break into my place?" He couldn't even look me in the eye. That told me everything I needed to know. Naomi ended up serving 3 months in jail. When she got out, she had a criminal record, making it even harder for them to get a mortgage. Their debt got worse, their landlord raised their rent, and within 6 months, they were evicted. And me? I sent them a housewarming gift. A framed photo of my condo with a note that said, "Hope you enjoy your new place." Oh wait, you don't have one. I blocked them after that. Never spoke to them again. As for my parents, they tried to mend things after a while, but they had made their choice, so I made mine. I was done being the family's doormat, and I never looked back. If there's one thing I've learned from all this, it's that some people think family means they can walk all over you. The only way to stop them is to make sure they regret it. And trust me, Naomi and Adam will never forget the day they tried to steal from me.